What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Episode number S7 New York Sports Take with the great Tom Fitzpatrick to talk Jets, Jets, trade, deadline, a lot of fallout, a lot of emotions. Tuesday was a crazy day, Tom. So many things that the Jets did. I said this, I posted a little just initial reaction thoughts a couple hours after 4 p.m. when the trade deadline hit. And all I really said was I didn't know what to expect when I woke up, when I got out of bed on Tuesday morning. But I sure as hell did not expect Sauce Gardner to be an Indianapolis Colt when it was all said and done. Maybe Quinnen, probably not. Felt like a lower chances of that happening. But certainly Sauce getting traded was a jaw dropper. I think it left Jets Nation in absolute shock. But we have a lot to get into. We got a really, really solid return on investment, tons of draft capital in the future, and it all comes down to what Glenn and Mougey do with this compensation. Their tenures with the New York Jets will be defined by what they do with this compensation, what Mougey, who he acquires, and how Glenn develops them. That's what it will all come down to. I want to ask you, what was your reaction? I feel like once we traded Sauce, felt as though anything was sort of on the table. I certainly thought we were going to deal Brees later in the day. Quincy, I thought it would just be a complete garage sale from that point on. What was your reaction when we traded Sauce? Were you mad at first, or were you just...
Okay, so at first, when we traded Sauce, I was pretty upset because, he's been our guy for a while. Love him or hate him, he's been a good Jet for a while. And to see him go was rough. And at first, I was really upset because I didn't know what we got back in return. And usually the Jets, when they make these type of deals, they don't really get much in return from what we've seen in the future. But once I saw how many picks we got and what we got back in return, it made a little bit more sense. And once Sauce was gone, and then once I saw what we got from Quinnen Williams, it sucks to see them go. They've been very good players for our team, but the amount of picks we got in return, you can't be upset at it, in my opinion. It's obviously going to come down to what we do with the picks, but at first glance, you see, we weren't winning with this team. We had to do something. Obviously, it sucks to lose two players that have been live or die with the Jets for so long, but honestly, at first I was pissed, but now I'm a little bit more like, all right, well, they made a move. Now let's see what we can do with the picks.
Yeah, I agree. Between these two guys, Tom, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, 2 by Sauce, 1 by Quinnen, perennially some of the best players at their respective positions in the sport. They just are. Yeah. They comprise of 2 of the 3 best players on our team. So that's going to kind of lead me into giving them their flowers at this point in time, because there's a lot of negative rhetoric and conversations being had on social media. Bye-bye, Sauce. See you later. It's unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
To me. Do we completely disregard how good of a football player Sauce Gardner was with the Jets? I understand the regression from his rookie year. He was honestly not the same player he was his second or third year and this year that he was his rookie year. He's just not. He's a very good football player. But yeah, he is not the great all-time Darrelle Revis that we thought we were getting out of his first year. He's the highest paid corner in annual average value for a reason. He's a great cover guy. We all know the deficiencies, not the best tackler, can't really create turnovers. But Sauce was a really good football player. There's a reason why quarterbacks never throw the ball in his direction. There's a reason why he is... There's a reason why he has 2 All-Pros, and there's a reason why he got a 4-year extension going into the season. I'm going to ask you, where did you stand with Sauce? I was never really I wasn't the biggest Sauce defender out there. I thought a lot of the missed tackling in his time with the Jets was very frustrating. That was always a concern for me, even coming out of college with his long and lanky span. I just was always skeptical about that. But he was still a really good football player. I feel like everybody disregards it. I have a really good stat here. He would, well, we all know, every coverage metric, 4 straight years, top of the league.
Yeah.
We all know it. And the stat is that I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Of all qualifying corners in the NFL this year, his receiver gets the lowest amount of targets. That doesn't happen by coincidence. That's because when he's in coverage, when you put him one-on-one, he doesn't allow any separation for the receiver.
Listen, like, if you're a true Jets fan and you were happy that Sauce was gone, you're not a true Jets fan. Like you said, the best thing a cornerback can do is not only disrupt passes or get interceptions. If they're not even throwing his way, it shows how good he is. Listen, I understand from his rookie year to now, he's not the same player, but too many Jets fans were, listen, I'm happy with the picks we got in return, but too many people were way too happy with seeing him go. Like, he's been a great Jet since his rookie year. Obviously, he's not the same player he is from his rookie year to now, but it's not like he's terrible or anything. Like, he's still statistically a very good player, and I just don't think that a lot of Jets fans really appreciated what he did for us. So just to see, like, I can see people being happy with the picks and stuff, like I am too, but just the negative hate when he was gone, just, I don't know, it didn't seem right to me.
I think, Tom, what it comes down to is it really puts Jet fans in two separate worlds. The ones that are disregarding the caliber of corner that he was, that simply look up stats on Google, easy, just interceptions. How many interceptions does Sauce Gardner have this season? The casuals who don't watch every game, who don't watch every snap and pay close attention to the team, are ready to be done with him because they can Google how many interceptions he has, and those numbers just don't tip in his favor. And it's a problem, too. I mean, if you want to be the best of the best, you got to create turnovers. He wasn't able to do that. That's why he's not great. That's why he got dealt. That's why AG, a Jets corner who was picked in the first round, didn't view him as that special kind of talent to stay and be part of this rebuild. That's part of the reason. But everybody's got to hold off. There's a reason why the Colts are not idiots. Chris Ballard's not a moron. No realistic projection, Tom, said the Jets were going to get 2 first-rounders for Sauce Gardner at this trade deadline. The Jets obviously got a haul. Obviously, when you look at it, we probably won the trade. But they gave up 2 I mean, it's a front office. They gave up 2 first-rounders. And I think their owner had an influence in that. A lot of people had a hand in it. But there's a reason that compensation was what it was. And, I'll always think of Sauce as a good Jet. Not necessarily, we're going to talk about Quinnen now, but not necessarily a Ring of Honor kind of Jet. He just wasn't here long enough. If he played out his contract, he probably could have been. Mm-hmm. But obviously, this regime, I think they, I read something that they began to have weekly meetings, like every Tuesday or Wednesday from week 4 to this point of the season. And they would evaluate the roster and everybody on it, and talk about what they're worth, what they would be willing to trade them for, how they fit into their scheme, their future, contracts, financials. And I think that these executives and Darren and all of his guys and the people who constructed these contracts, they met, and then when they discussed Sauce, and his contract was aligned in such a way where it would make sense moving off of him, they said, hey, he's a good asset, he's a good player, but there was a price to be had. Unlike Garrett Wilson, when teams called in on Garrett Wilson, the Jets would hang up the phone right away. But obviously for Sauce Gardner, there was a price that if that price was met and that compensation was met, the Jets would pull the trigger, and they did, and it was the right thing. One quick last side note on it. Class act by Darren Mougey is that apparently the Jets and the Colts had been in agreement on the Sauce trade. I don't know if you saw this on Tuesday morning. But Darren had said, can we not strike this and put it out public till the afternoon because it was Nick Mangold's funeral. Class act on his part.
I agree.
Any final remarks on Sauce Gardner's time in New York? How electric was his rookie year? I mean, it was. He came in here. He wanted to be a part of the solution, Tom. He wanted to be here long term. Even when Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were fired going back to last year, at the end of the season, before this new regime and Mougey and Glenn came in, Sauce spoke to the media and said he said he would feel bad if he did not re-sign here and make it work and became part of the long-term solution. From my understanding, he's happy to be in Indianapolis now on a contender and a surprising 7-2 team. But he wanted to be part of this long-term solution, wanted to be part of the rebuild here. And I respect him for that. I respect the player. I respect the person. a leader in the locker room, and a locker room that was not abundant with leaders. Just a really, really good presence, a great draft pick. And honestly, as many first round picks as we have now, we're going to be looking for somebody that's as good as him at that position. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. It really does suck to see Sauce go. He came in here rookie year, absolutely balled out, and he gone through some rough seasons with the Jets, and he easily could have said, "Screw them, I want out." But he wanted to make it work, like you said, and it just gets to a point where things change and teams move on, and that's what happened here. But you you got to respect everything that he did as a New York Jet and the way he went about himself and how much he cared about the team and organization ahead of himself. But obviously, it sucks to see him go. Like it really does. But now we made the move, and it comes down to what we do with the draft picks now. Like that's why we can't get too high or too low. Like people like now it's time to hit on these picks. It really is. Like there's no room for error now.
No margin for error
No.
whatsoever. And as I said at top of the show, that will define this regime. Glenn and Mougey is how those draft picks pan out, how those 5 players and that new quarterback end up in our system. Most importantly, hitting on the quarterback, something that has eluded this franchise practically since Joe Namath.
I agree.
And yeah, it's going to be great. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about the draft class in another episode and whatever as we turn our attention there the final few weeks of the season. 4 years, $120 million contract that Sauce got. And Woody Johnson said it the other week, too, at the owners' meetings in Manhattan. He said, for all that's gone, and that guy just runs his mouth. I mean, he doesn't really know what he's saying. But he had said that he had been around a long time, and he was happy, even though the Jets were winless at that point in time, that they locked up what he thought were franchise cornerstones in Sauce and Garrett. He said, I had been around for a long time, and these two are something else. And as it turns out, he trusted the coach and the GM that he put in place enough to say, hey, go ahead and deal him. Let's give our flowers a little bit to Quinnen Williams now. 8 years as a New York Jet, was picked with the 3rd overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, All-Pro in 2022, a 3-time Pro Bowler, 40 and a half sacks in 7 years. I'm sorry, I said 8 years. 7 years with our club. Quinnen was a little bit more of an emotional loss for me than Sauce, Tom. Personally, I thought he was one of the best Jets that we get to watch in our past game, both on the field and off the field. You talk about the kind of guy that Sauce was in the locker room. Quinnen was probably 10 times that guy. The anchor of the defense. He'd requested a trade from the team 3 times, but still put his head down this season, went to work every day, and got the job done. Quinnen was a great New York Jet, somebody I could see potentially down the road being in that Ring of Honor. It's a tough loss. I know. Listen, the thing with Sauce, which is sort of surprising, is that I really do believe that there was more to that trade than just the compensation, the draft capital that we got in return. Because if AG viewed Glenn, a former corner, and the coach, if AG viewed viewed Sauce the way that he viewed Garrett Wilson, then he wouldn't have traded him. Yeah. And this is a former corner. If he viewed him as a guy, as the number 1 corner in the league, as a guy who, despite no matter all the overhaul we go through, needs to be here as part of the long-term build because he's a special player, then the Jets wouldn't have never answered the phone on him. But AG didn't view him that way. AG did not view Sauce as indispensable. Quinnen was tough. He was indispensable as a Jet, but he had been here for 7 years, never won more than 7 games with the team, and truly it's disappointing. It really breaks my heart that we never got to win for him. He was such a good Jet.
I agree.
It's sad. Tell me just a little bit about how you feel about his time with the Jets, and where does he rank for you in your lifetime?
Listen, if you're a Jets fan, you could not have asked more for Quinnen Williams. This guy came in since day one, worked his ass off, and produced on the football field every single week. It was not easy for him because we're not winning that much, but this guy came to work every single day, gave 110%, was a great locker room guy, great leader, great teammate, and just made people around. The most important thing that I've seen about him is he made everybody around him better. And that was just very good to see. And he's probably one of the best Jets we've seen in our lifetime. Seeing him go, it sucks. There's no two ways around it. It's definitely a huge loss and a huge spot to fill for sure. It's not You're not going to find many people out there like Quinnen Williams that are just he's not very easily replaceable at all.
No, he signed I believe, a $96 million deal or something in that ballpark in the 2023 offseason. And it's just like unfathomable to think 2.5 years later when he signed that contract and he's now in Dallas. And on the field, you talk about the leader he was off the field, and he held, even in the midst of this horrible 1-7 season where he's starting with his, whatever it is, third or fourth regime with the team, even in the midst of that, he was still holding players on and wanting to be traded, but putting his head down. In today's modern day NFL world, you read about and you hear about all these players that request a trade, and they're not keeping themselves hush-hush about it. Look at Myles Garrett. Look at Calvin Ridley. Look at all these guys over the course of time. They don't request a trade to the GM and put their head down and get to work every day the way Quinnen was. No, they're on Twitter. 100%. They're running their mouths. They're letting everybody know about the incompetence, their way they see the incompetency in the front office. That's what they're doing. But Quinnen Williams said, I want to be traded, complaining internally, but still doing his job on the field and still trying to elevate everybody around him. That's a winning player right there. Held a players-only meeting for the defense ahead of that Denver game in London where we came out on the losing end, but the defense played great, and they held opponents to 13 points back-to-back weeks. That's the kind of man he is. But then you talk about all that he accomplished on the field with the Jets. Just one of the best two-way defensive tackles the league has really seen over the past decade, with no help. I mean, the Jets, even when we were a quarterback away, Tom, and we had those really good defenses,
yep.
Quinnen had no help on the interior defensive line. We had Bryce Huff on the edge. We had John, we had Jermaine Johnson also on the edge. And we did have JFM, who's probably the only other good interior guy. But over the past decade, man, it's 7 years as a Jet. He did it on both ends with not a lot of help. Great run stopper. Like I said, 40.5 sacks. Talk about his production on the field. I mean, me and you celebrated a lot of big Quinnen moments over the course of his time.
Listen, you never had to doubt that Quinnen Williams was not going to show up on a Sunday. I never seen that guy have 2 bad games in his entire career.
I know. And this year the production was probably down more than it ever been, at least in terms of the box score numbers. Still really good at run stuffing and getting Jets run blocking, man. That's one thing the Giants have not been able to do well for a long time that the Jets have, is stop the run. We stuff the run about 25% of the time, which is really high across football. So something we do really well. And another guy, similar to Sauce this season, that a lot of fans getting on him because of relatively unimpressive, outdated box score numbers that are just easy for casual fans to Google and say, oh, you don't do this well, you don't do that well. But they just don't really accurately encapsulate the on-field impact that Quinnen Williams had, not just this year, but in years prior. Great Jet. Was super happy when we locked him up in 2023. Again, giving him his flowers. Best of luck to both of these guys.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, the Cowboys are 3-5-1. A really tough loss on Monday night to the Cardinals. I don't really know where they go this year.
They didn't look good.
They were able to solidify their defensive front now with Quinnen, but man, the rest of that defense is Swiss cheese. They lost Nyland to suicide, which is a real, a lot worse of an off-the-field impact than on-the-field impact. Horrible news there.
Terrible to hear.
Unimaginable.
So sad.
Unimaginable news to be losing a guy that just on Monday night had turned around a punt block for a touchdown, and now he's gone.
It's honestly so sad to hear, bro. It's
really sad. Probably the worst NFL news that we could have heard right there. What else can you say other than that? And there's no easy transitional thing to do after discussing something like that, because none of what we are talking about really matters compared to something like that. But we have to move forward. Okay. 5 first-round picks, Tom. in the next 2 years and a second rounder, I mean, we are loaded. We have so much draft compensation. We just took $216 million off the books in these two guys that we just dealt. What are the building blocks going to look like for this team? I'm not asking you who we should draft or whatever, because that's a conversation for down the road. But what do you think? Do you think that we should use these picks and genuinely try and organically build this thing up, or try and use these picks to trade and get veterans and maybe trade for a veteran quarterback?
Honestly, I would try to actually use these draft picks and try to build from the way up, because if you're going to trade Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, who are you really going to get? Like, who are you going to really get trading? What's the point of trading those guys to get picks if you're not even going to use those picks, in my opinion? So I think we should use them, and I wouldn't even mind drafting a quarterback, to be honest, because we can nail all of these picks as best as we can, but if we don't have a quarterback that we can trust, if Justin Fields is not Aaron Glenn's answer, in his opinion, then we need to draft one. A guy I really like is Mendoza from Indiana. I've watched him a lot this season, and he's been very, very good. But overall, I think we should draft the picks, because if you're going to trade two of our best players for the last many years, you got to nail these picks 100%. There's no room for error anymore. And I just don't think that you're going to get better guys than Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams by trading those picks.
I hear you, man. Absolutely. And, one thing about these trades, and we are rich now with assets and draft capital and doing it, but that is the easy part. Jet fans have to acknowledge that acquiring picks is something we've been doing our whole life. When we traded Darrelle Revis, Tom, you know what happened? Oh, we traded Darrelle. We got a first rounder in return or whatever. Oh, yeah, we used the first rounder to replace Darrelle. They used that first rounder for Mr. Revis's replacement, and it was fucking D. Milner, who was awful, who was the worst corner in Jets history. So I don't want to just hear automatic turnaround like that happens, okay? You actually have to hit on them. The hard part is not acquiring these picks, but nailing them.
Exactly. Well, listen, we hit on Sauce Gardner and we hit on Quinnen Williams. Those are two guys that we hit on huge.
Yeah, we have two opportunities here, and if I have a hard time, and it's unbelievable to think about the predicament, the 1-7 predicament that the Jets are in right now, considering how well Joe Douglas nailed that 2022 draft. We went 3 for 3 on the first rounders, and Jermaine, Sauce, and Garrett, and Brees in the second round. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
offense, defense,
that was insane.
Did everything right. And, in a draft, and the Jets are going to find themselves now in similar positions in 2026 and 2027, where they're picking from the top crop of players in the first round. And if you think that they hit on it, that these trades will anchor the team's long-term success into the 2030s. But look, we did it in 2022. Here we are already revolting for 2026 and 2027. So that's just the Jet way, it feels like, and it's very unfortunate. But you would think that Glenn and Mougey are the real deal when it comes to drafting and developing, that we're going to be a good football team. But the most important pick that they make is obviously going to be the quarterback, and we have to trust Darren Mougey. The early returns have been very promising. Mason Taylor looks good. Armand Membu looks good. The little minor ancillary trades look good. Brownlee looks good. Like, he's done everything right to this point in time, and I do trust him. However, with that being said, you only dream to draft the players of Quinnen and Sauce's caliber with these picks.
Exactly, 100%.
That's the tough thing. But with that being said, is you're flipping 2 really good players for potentially 6 really good players on top of the high draft pedigree players that we acquired in these deals. So let's talk about some of the guys that we did get. I want to talk about A.D. Mitchell a little bit. A.D. Mitchell, for a player that was cherry on top of the Sauce Gardner package, okay, 2 first rounders is obviously going to headline that. Mitchell's potential, Tom, is tantalizing.
I remember he scored against the Jets.
He scored against the Jets, and he beat Sauce. Did you see the video?
Yeah, no, he's got some. I saw Garrett Wilson talking about him too. Like he's got some serious potential. It seems like he's really fast.
He's really fast. I heard Connor Rogers say this. Shout out to him. He's a draft expert. He looks into all these different things. He said that if it wasn't for some discipline issues off the field and problems mentally focusing and that's those sort of intangible qualities, the physical attributes of this guy are of the stars of that draft class, are of the breed of Marvin Harrison and like a Jeremiah's, like a go up and get it one-on-one kind of physical specimen player. Like he's got great hands, great athleticism, moves off the ball really well, and he's only 23. He's a high draft pedigree, high talented second round pick from last year's draft. And signs have shown, I haven't read about it too much, but signs have shown that when Anthony Richardson, who stinks with the lowest completion percentage of 45% last year, isn't throwing him the ball, he has success and he gets open all the time. And separation metrics by Pro Football Focus, he's graded exceptionally well across the board last year. Second in separation grade on vertical routes, and third best among rookies on breaking routes. Like that, you don't even really have to know what that means, but just know that this guy, he creates separation, and with the proper quarterback delivering the football, he can be a really dangerous threat and hopefully a high quality number 2 option to Garrett Wilson, as we've been looking for a long time. So A.D. Mitchell, for a throw-in, Tom, I mean, this guy's got high-end potential.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
How could you not? And then Mougey Smith, another high draft pedigree guy, but more of an underperformer. I don't know if you know anything about this guy. He started all 17 games for the Cowboys last year, but kind of buried himself into a backup role this year, even in the Cowboys defense that's been bad.
Yeah, that's not a good
He's struggled
sign.
against the run. But he is a former first rounder, so maybe the Jets coaches can find a way to unlock some sort of skill out of him. We'll see what happens with that. But, a throw-in. Again,
As another throw-in, you can't be mad, you know? Like,
you can't be mad, Tom.
no.
I mean, both of these guys are guys that if they stink, oh, well, hey, they're the throw-ins, okay? The meat and potatoes of these packages are the first-round draft picks. Those is what's really going to matter. If these guys pan out, great. They're lottery tickets. If not, you move off of them. But I'm excited, most especially about A.D. Mitchell and then John Mechie as well. Another high draft pedigree guy who's shown signs. Hey, just to close up here, we talked about the trades. Obviously, we're looking at 7 first-round. We're looking at round picks in the next 2 years.
Some second, too.
Huh?
And then some second-rounders, too.
Some second-rounders as well. 5 first-rounders in the next 2 years. Couple second-rounders. Couple high draft pedigree guys that are going to be battling for spots on this roster. A lot to look forward to for this team. But it all comes down to what Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey do with it. Woody Johnson has shown that he's put all their eggs into trusting these guys and what they can do. Do you believe in them?
Yeah, obviously, to wrap it up, I think it sucks to lose Sauce Gardner. It sucks to lose Quinnen Williams. They were first-round picks that we nailed and have been very good for us. But now we moved on. There's nothing we can do about it now. And now you have to nail on these picks. It comes down to I do trust them because they have done pretty well in the past. But there's no room for error now. If you're going to get rid of those guys, you got to hit. And even if no matter what, even if we hit every single one of those picks, we need a good quarterback. If we hit every single pick and we don't have a good quarterback, I don't think we're going to win. It doesn't seem like Justin Fields is the guy. We need a good quarterback, and they need to emphasize that. They need to get their guy. And we have a lot of picks, and so there's a lot to be optimistic about. But I wouldn't get too happy or too sad just yet because we're a long way from being successful. First, we got to hit the picks because we just lost 2 studs. There's no way around it, but there is a lot to be optimistic about moving forward. So we'll see where it takes us, and we just have to trust them and hope that they can hit.
Yeah, no doubt. Aaron Glenn just being the consummate not Aaron Glenn. I don't know why. I can't talk today for whatever reason. I keep mincing my words. But Darren Mougey had said his focus is the now. His focus is on beating the Browns. The consummate professional that he is denying that trading away these pieces was with an eye on the long term. But that's not true. We have put everything into the future, and man, these assets, they will define the tenure of these two. I haven't liked what I've seen from Aaron Glenn so far. I've loved what I've seen from Mougey. Who knows what this means? Honestly, coaches who have early success with the Jets have failed in past regimes anyway.
Yeah. And like we emphasized before, like any Jet fan should not be giving hate to Sauce Gardner or Quinnen Williams.
Not.
That's just ridiculous. Like it's going to be a huge loss to see them go 100%.
I said in my promo to this pod that I said I didn't know what to expect when the Jets woke up that morning, but I do know one thing now that it's over. We lost two really great Jets, and now here we are yet again. But it's exciting, man. It definitely is exciting, and we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. You don't have to give me much substance here. We got Jets and Browns this week from MetLife Stadium. We are without two of our three best players now the rest of the way. Who you got?
Browns.
Yeah, me too. I
think we hand the ball off to Brees.
Will be able to move the ball effectively off of one of the best defenses in the league. And man, I was excited that we put up 39 points against Cincinnati, but then you watch we all knew before going into that game that the Bengals defense stunk and it was a major issue. But we got big time reaffirmation last week
that was really bad.
When the Bears did what they did to them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I'm glad that we were able to churn out this episode. Thank you for listening. Got the Jets and the Browns this Sunday from MetLife Stadium. Let's go get ourselves a win. I don't care I don't care how low the stakes are, whatever it was. Victory Mondays are fun, and we all want them. Tom, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the New York Sports Take. Let's keep it rolling. See you guys.